on the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield. Live from Baumhauer's Victory Grill in Vestavia Hills, Alabama. Welcome to Crimson Tide Rewind. Presented by Bud Light. It's for the fans. Golden Flake, the official potato chip of the Alabama Crimson Tide. And by Baumhauer's Victory Grill. Legendary fun, legendary food, and the official watch party location of the Crimson Tide. Now live, this is Crimson Tide Rewind. Here's Roger Hoover.
Roll Tide and welcome to Crimson Tide Rewind, presented by Bud Light. Welcome everybody, I'm Roger Hoover alongside former Crimson Tide linebacker Corey Reamer. We're great to be with you tonight from Baumhauer's Victory Grill in Vestavia Hills. Roll Tide, everyone.
We got a crowd tonight. How about that?
I love it.
I know. I was expecting it's President's Day. Everybody's off. Not going to have a lot of people show up, and here we are. I guess there's a lot more excitement around the program when we almost lose a game against Texas A&M.
Well, the Crimson Tide, a perfect 6-0 to begin the season, 3-0 in SEC play. We're going to be talking about Saturday's win against Texas A&M, plus looking forward to our trip coming up this weekend to Knoxville to take on Tennessee. If you'd like to join us on Crimson Tide Rewind tonight, give us a call on the Yellowhammer Brewing Hotline at 877-202-BAMA. So the Crimson Tide get the win. It was close, 24-20, as you mentioned, Corey, but when the defense had to make a play at the end, they did.
Yeah, they did. I mean, this game was it was weird. It didn't feel like we were ever down or that we didn't have this game in hand. We were moving the ball well. We had some turnovers, some things that didn't go our way, but it didn't really feel like we were ever threatened. You know, had the lead most of the game, kept them in check. Texas A&M didn't have a ton of offensive production where it felt like they were just moving the ball at will. And then all of a sudden, you got Texas A&M with the ball on the final drive and a chance to win the ball game with 2 seconds left on the clock. I think everybody was kind of stunned. It definitely was not the outcome that we were expecting or that it felt like as the game was progressing. A lot of things to learn from this game. We were fortunate to get out of there and get a win, but a lot of highs and lows, a lot of anxiety tied into this game. It was we didn't know what to expect. We had a new quarterback that's coming in. Bryce is still on the sideline, and Jalen Milroe comes in, gets his first start in a pretty big game. 7 o'clock kick in Bryant-Denny Stadium against a team that everybody that showed up for this game had circled from well before the season started. So the environment was great. I thought the fan base did a great job. They were loud in the stadium, and luckily for us, caused some issues for that Texas A&M offense late in the game. Found a way to get a win though, and that's the main thing. They're not always going to be pretty, and it's kind of been like a broken record this season so far. We've talked a lot about some of these games that have been a lot closer. I can't remember a time in the last 10 years that we've had so many games that have only been won by less than a touchdown and come down to the wire like they have this year.
Texas A&M has the ball on the 2-yard line, only a few seconds left. Just from your perspective, especially playing defense like you did at Alabama, just what did you see on that final play that ultimately led to the incomplete pass?
Yeah, it was the play before it as well. I was sitting in the end zone, so I didn't see the pass interference, so I was going nuts. I was like, these guys, you just can't play defense in this league anymore. They're just out to get us, and I thought the ball game was over, and a lot of people did, and the flag came out late too. It was not thrown early, so it was kind of took us all off guard when we saw the flag come in. Then they get the ball on the 2-yard line, and you don't want to give Jimbo Fisher an opportunity to go out there and draw something up. He's got a lot of those types of plays that are successful up his sleeve, and then he comes out, and Terrion Holden, he's been targeted all night, and he had a good game, not a great game, but they obviously had a game plan going into Saturday to attack him. And he stood up and made a play. You heard some of his comments after the game that he kind of got tipped off by Jimbo sitting on the sideline. You heard him yelling at the receiver that he was covering, so he knew it was coming his way. But great play. Glad there was no flag. Get out of there and get off the field as fast as you can.
How would you know to trust that in that moment? He could be bluffing. Baseball third base coaches give a million signs, only one of them's right. I mean, that's a risky gamble, but it did pay off. It
is, and it's. I think you got to just give the credit to the technique that he had. You know where you are on the field, and that's a lot of things where DBs get lost. Is you're inside the 5-yard line and they're playing off coverage and you're backpedaling. It's like you've only got 5 yards before the end zone's there. It's like you see it all the time in college football, especially. Guys that are just backing up almost to the back of the end zone. It's like, where do you think you're going? The field ends there. There's only so many places that they can go. And the back shoulder throw is always a difficult one to defend too, because Luckily, he had great coverage. He was on top of him. He didn't get his hips turned, which is what you want to do on those back shoulder throws, and then come back and get the ball. But he was in perfect position. So it takes – corner is the hardest position. I will argue till I'm blue in the face. It is the hardest position on the field to play. Hands down.
Especially at Alabama.
I mean, especially at Alabama, they're going to put you on an island. There's not zone coverage out there at Alabama. It's going to be man-to-man, and you're going to be put on an island, press coverage, no help over the top. And you've got to have some real guts to go out there and play corner for Coach Saban, because he's going to put you in, you're going to be on an island, and everybody in that stadium is going to know if you messed up because there's nobody else around. So great for him making a play at the end of the ball game and gave us the win.
Great win for the Crimson Tide. Again, 24-20 was the final score. If you'd like to join us on the show, give us a call on the Yellowhammer Brewing hotline at 877-202-BAMA. Stay tuned for more. It's Crimson Tide Rewind, live from Baumhower's Victory Grill in Vestavia Hills. This is the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield.
Running right. Tons of green grass. 30, 25, 20. Goes to the left side. 15. Runs out of bounds wisely at the 12. Took what was there and then got out of the way. Getting inside the 15-yard line. A gain of 35 on the play for the Crimson Tide.
Part of Saturday's great win for the Crimson Tide against Texas A&M. Chris Stewart filling in for Eli Gold on the call. I'm Roger Hoover filling in for Eli tonight here at Crimson Tide Rewind at Baumhower's Victory Grill in Vestavia Hills. I want to remind you can keep up with everything Alabama with the Alabama Crimson Tide mobile app presented by Cadence Bank. It's available at the App Store and Google Play. Download the Alabama Crimson Tide mobile app now for free. Again, we're going to be taking your calls all throughout the night on the Yellowhammer Brewing Hotline, 877-202-BAMA. And the first call this evening is presented by Alabama 811. Alabama 811, reminding you to always call 811 before you dig. Let's go down to Pace, Florida, and say hello and roll tide to Parker, who joins us now. Roll tide, Parker.
Roll Tide, Roger. Roll Tide, Corey. How are y'all doing?
Hey, roll tide. Roll tide, Parker.
I got to say that last call from Chris Stewart Saturday night, that almost brought me back to the Terrence Cody block when Mount Cody blocked the game-winning field goal against Tennessee. But real quick, I know the million-dollar question this week, and I'm going to ask it since Saban's not sitting right there. Do you think Bryce is going to be ready to go Saturday at 2:39?
That's a good question. I think that's you're absolutely right. It is a million-dollar question. We didn't get any clarity, I don't think, from Coach Saban in his press conference today, and I wouldn't expect it. This is probably going to be kept quiet all the way up till game time, whether he's ready to go. Just if you're asking me after the comments that were made after the game that Bryce was trying to go in the ball game in the fourth quarter against Texas A&M, I think there's a pretty good shot that we're going to see him. It's just a matter of whether this week he progresses like he hopes to, and that he can go out there and make the plays. That's the main thing. There's not a question of will. That guy wants to play. He's a competitor. He wants to be on the field. He wants to go out there and play. This is a huge game, obviously, on the road against the top 10 opponent in Tennessee. And he wants to be out there. But he's also got to be smart, and the coaching staff has to be smart, not to just put him in just because he wants to. It's if he can go out there and execute, can he make the throws? Can he run the offense that we need him to run? Is he going to give us the best ability, the best chance to win this ball game on Saturday? So there's still a lot of discussions whether outside of just his health, outside of just him being healthy, his mindset is he wants to play. I know he's going to be working his tail off to try to get in there, but I have high hopes that he'll be there. I think that they're going to do whatever they can to get him in the game, but that's just me.
And a lot of it comes down to practice, and that's really with any position throughout the Coach Saban era. You have to be able to show you can do it in practice and also be able to play.
Yeah, absolutely. Even as a quarterback who's experienced as he is, and he's a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback, if you don't get the reps during the week, it doesn't matter who you are, you're still not going to be performing at the highest level on Saturday. It just takes going through the mental reps, and I guarantee you he's a guy that's standing right next to the offensive coordinator during practice this week. Even if he's not getting reps, he is paying very close attention to the game plan, and I'm not worried about him from that standpoint. It's just going out there and going through the physical reps that you need to just go out there and perform well, because even with just a week off or 2 weeks off that he's going to have, the game speed, it still shocks a lot of people no matter how long you've been playing.
So, again, we'll keep an eye on that all throughout the week, and especially in pregame warm-ups coming up on Saturday in Knoxville. We'll continue talking about the upcoming Tennessee game, plus looking back to the win against Texas A&M when we return. This is the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield.
looking, throwing. It is caught. Touchdown, Alabama. Jalen Milroe to Cameron Latu, and now you've got a flag down in the backfield. It's after the fact, likely to be a dead ball penalty, but a 10-yard touchdown strike to Cameron Latu, and boy, the quarterback, Jalen Milroe, looked very poised right there.
Jalen Milroe ended up throwing 3 touchdown passes for the Alabama Crimson Tide on Saturday, part of a great win against Texas A&M. Again, if you'd like to join us on the show, give us a call on the Yellowhammer Brewing hotline at 877-202-BAMA. Of course, Milroe had those 3 touchdown passes, and again, 111 yards passing, as Coach Saban said, need to see more passing yards from this offense, but still, he was effective in a lot of key moments.
Yeah, he was. And you look at the numbers, and it wasn't pretty. I mean, it wasn't exactly – we've got goal boards in the meeting rooms, and you can go through and look and each, passing yards, rushing yards, explosive plays, all these things. I guarantee you this week there were not a lot of check marks by a lot of the goals that we have offensively, but and there's an obvious difference between Milroe and Bryce Young. And people are giving him a hard time like he didn't go out there and light this team up like Bryce probably could have if he was healthy, but he's also being compared to the Heisman Trophy winner from last year. So it's a pretty big stage for him to step in as a redshirt freshman and have some high expectations for him to just pick up where Bryce left off. But if you take away the turnovers, and I will say the turnovers at the beginning of the game, it seemed like to me that Milroe was trying to be somebody that he really wasn't. And I think that led to a lot of the turnovers. He was in the pocket a little bit longer than you normally would see him. I think there were some obvious running alleys that he could have taken and made plays with his feet, but it seemed like him getting comfortable in the game plan and in his skin, he's out there trying to do a little too much, holds on to the ball a little too long, stays in the pocket too long, and Texas A&M did a great job of putting together pressure packages. I think it was probably one of our least productive offensive line plays that we've had this season as well. You sit there and look and you try to say, well, Bryce would have done this, Bryce would have done that, but the pressure was actually pretty quick from Texas A&M. And their defensive line was pretty good. They came after him and got after him pretty quick, and he was having to step up. And I just think that early on he could have made some plays with his feet that he was trying to make in the passing game, and that's what led to a couple of the fumbles. And then he's trying to make up for it with the interception. He'll tell you that it was a bad throw. It was a bad read. He shouldn't have even tried that throw. But he played well enough. He threw 3 touchdowns and made some plays with his feet. I think he had 80-something plus yards rushing, and it kept us in this game. I mean, the defense was obviously the one that we won this game, put in bad situations all night long with some of the turnovers. But I thought Jalen Milroe did a pretty good job outside of, obviously, you don't want to lose the turnover battle like we did. 4 turnovers and 2 missed field goals. It's not typical that you see from Alabama. And usually when you have that kind of turnover margin, you're not going to win ball games. It's just simple math. I mean, you just can't turn the ball over that much. But give them credit. They fought back, made enough plays to win the ball game.
What did you see on some of the other fumbles?
Which ones?
McClellan.
From McClellan?
Yeah.
I mean, he's a sitting duck. It's unfortunate. He's a great runner. He's just standing there, just waiting to be tackled. He's trying to make a play, continue to get yards, and instead of going down, he's just a competitor, and ball gets just punched out. It's unfortunate, but it's a good play by the defense, getting in there, and you see more and more today. Guys aren't really tackling anymore. They're all coming in swinging clubs at trying to get those balls out, trying to force turnovers. Nobody's just coming in and just wrapping up and taking people to the ground anymore. So it's an emphasis, and there's a reason why. As we create turnovers, we got a better chance to win this ball game. So it was, 4 turnovers is going to be tough to beat, especially going into Knoxville. We can't have that same type of performance, and this is something that Jalen will learn from. I think his decision-making's got to be a little bit quicker. He's got to feel the pocket. I think he had the ball a little low. And I'm not a quarterback, so don't quote me on this, but you always see quarterback coaches and quarterbacks working on keeping the ball high. It's like in basketball. If you get a rebound, you don't want to take the ball down and then go back up for the shot. You got to keep it up high so those arms can't get in there and knock the ball loose.
Again, those are some of the moments from the Texas A&M game on Saturday. We'll also keep looking forward to the 3rd Saturday in October coming up this Saturday against the Tennessee Volunteers. Again, if you'd like to join us, give us a call on the Yellowhammer Brewing hotline, 877-202-BAMA. This is the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield. Yellowhammer Brewing Hotline, and check in with Mark, who gives us a call now from Huntsville. Roll Tide, Mark.
Hey, Roll Tide, guys. It's Robert Stowe.
Oh, appreciate it, Mark.
Yes, sir. Hey, just real quick, in terms of Bryce playing Saturday, I would think, I'm no offensive coordinator, but I would think, based on what I'm hearing, it's not that he can't throw it. It's just that I'm sure we don't want him to get hit. And so I would think we would see Alabama come out, establish the run. Instead of normally Alabama comes out, they throw the ball to set up the run. Maybe we do it the old way. We set up the run and then hit a little quick, just those little quick outs and that sort of thing to keep Bryce from even taking a hit. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that would definitely be a good game plan if he does play. You obviously want to avoid your quarterback getting hit in any situation, but the problem with us establishing the run is it's running consistently between the tackles has been feast or famine really this year. It's not consistently getting 3 to 4 yards a carry. You're hitting big plays, but not consistently getting that push and those yards on a consistent basis. But you're absolutely right. If Bryce does play, I imagine they're probably going to try to get the ball out of his hands. And Tennessee's got a good front, just like Texas A&M does. And we were talking about it during the break a little bit. Even if he's 80%, he's got to feel confident enough to where you got a situation in the game where you've got those 15 to 18 yard out routes or some throws that you've got to fit into some tight windows, and the strength of your arm is still capable to make those throws. Where if he goes out there and he doesn't have the same zip on the ball, he can't fit it in those tight windows like he's used to, and he's out there trying to do more than he physically can at this point if he still has some lingering effects from that injury. And then he's out there throwing the ball and looking at throws that he knows he normally would be able to make. And then all of a sudden the ball just doesn't have that pop on it. And all of a sudden you've got some turnovers. You're throwing interceptions. And that's what you want to avoid. And I think that's what the coaching staff is trying to evaluate. And Bryce is trying to evaluate. Can I go out there and execute the game plan that Bill O'Brien's going to call for us and make all the throws that are necessary, especially if it comes down to where it's at the end of the ball game and you've got to put some productive drives together, because we can't do 5 yard out routes all the way down the field, and they're going to know that. And you've seen that from this season too. We don't really have a ton of the wide receiver group has not really given any defenses the threat of being beat deep right now. We don't have that guy that's just going to blow by him that we've had in the past that just has blazing speed. They've got to respect it. They're playing a lot more conservative from a safety standpoint, keeping everything in front of them, and we're not really taking those deep shots. And so, the quick game, it sounds good in theory, but can we execute it if we need to, if that's what we're trying to do? Because this Tennessee defense is going to be playing aggressive whichever quarterback they come out there and see. They're not going to be worried about those fade routes or hitting those post patterns that are just down the field, because we haven't proven that we've got a guy that can go beat the defense over the top.
And we'll keep talking about Tennessee as we keep going on this show, but their rushing defense is 11th best in the nation right now, only giving up 89 yards per game. Yeah,
that's going to be one of their strengths versus one of our weaknesses, and I think that's going to be an emphasis, and it might, we might try to avoid that altogether. Coach Saban's looking at the film, and all the coaches are looking at the film and seeing how successful they've been in shutting down the run. We're going to find creative ways to get, and we do that with screen passes, bubble passes, quick routes, like you said, quick slants. Just try to take some of this front out of the ball game as much as we possibly can. But you still got to run the ball. I mean, we're going to keep trying. We're going to find ways to do it. Whether it's we might not be lining up in the eye and running power all the time. But Jahmyr Gibbs has done a phenomenal job of making his offensive line a lot better. He's setting blocks up really well, and I think he had 150-something yards of rushing this past game. And you look at the circumstance that he did it in with a defense that knew who was playing quarterback. He's not the guy that's going to be out there throwing it all over the place like Bryce Young. And they're loading the box. They got a couple extra guys. The safeties are playing aggressive and down to stop the run, and he still goes out there and puts 150 rushing yards up. So he's going to be relied on heavily. And what we did on the defensive side of the ball this game with keying in on A-Chain, and we limited him to under 100 yards of total offense. And I imagine that if we come in there and you see Jalen Milroe out there, I imagine that Tennessee's defense is going to be doing the same thing. Try to pinpoint Jahmyr Gibbs and shut him down where he can't beat you on Saturday.
Going back to the last play of the game once again, I figured the ball would go to Achane at some point.
Yeah.
Did you as well?
I had no idea what was about. I was so lost and I was so confused because I just couldn't believe that the pass interference call happened the play before. But I don't think it was a bad play call. I think it's actually a pretty good play call because it's so tough to defend. Yeah. It's so tough to defend. That back shoulder throw is successful in the college level and at the NFL level. You see them all the time in short yardage situations, especially in today's football. Nobody's lining up and just handing it off to get short yardage anymore. They're lining up in shotgun and doing all kinds of stuff to try to get 1 to 2 yards. But if you're a coach and your best player at the end of the ball game, you always want that guy to have the ball in his hands. And so you're probably not wrong. A lot of people probably expected Achane. Maybe that's what they were hoping for. Everybody's going to be playing for the Achane to get the ball and try to catch us off guard, try to catch the corners off guard. But great play. Terry Arnold, he did a great job.
Ended in an incomplete pass as Alabama improves to 6-0 on the season, 3-0 in SEC play. We'll continue with more of Crimson Tide Rewind live from Baumhower's Victory Grill in Vestavia Hills. This is the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield.
First and 10 from the Aggie 35. Milroe looking across the middle. Catch made. Burton breaks the tackle. 20, 15, 10, 5. Touchdown, Alabama. 35 yards. Milroe finds Burton. Broke a tackle. Found pay dirt. And Bama leads it again.
Hey, if you'd like to be part of tonight's Crimson Tide Rewind show, submit your question to Corey Reamer on the Alabama Media Group Twitter line at UA_CTSN, AL.com, your source for SEC sports. And we actually have a question coming in from Steve Dean, who asked, hey, Corey, did you ever have any special moments from playing against Tennessee, maybe a cigar celebration? And we were talking in the break, you played from Rocky Stop to Rocky Block, so I imagine you got to celebrate a lot.
Yeah, unfortunately was a part of the last team that did lose to Tennessee in that 45-year span. But 2005 as a freshman was a pretty special game. Roman Harper coming up and popping the ball out and winning that ball game. Jamie Money Christensen making some clutch field goals for us in that game. That was a huge win for us. And then and obviously 2009. You can't get top what we did in that 2009 game. Lane Kiffin's on the other sideline and end up getting two. Terrence Cody gets a block at the very end. I tell you, though, the clock was not at 0 when that was over with. There was still time on that clock. And I remember when it happened, Rolando and I were just somehow locked in eye to eye. It's like, where is the football? And because, there's an opportunity if we get a block, they can still pick it up and run it in. So we're just scrambling, and the team's just storming the field, looking, and we're just chasing through everybody trying to get on the football and kill the play. And the game's actually going to be over with. But, cigars are always special, and not always expecting to be smoking cigars in the locker room when I was there. But that 2008 game at Neyland to win at their place was pretty special. There's always a lot of excitement around this game. You've seen as soon as Sunday hit, Tennessee Hate Week comes up. Rocky Colburn was my strength coach when I was there for a couple of years, and then Scott Cochran. But I'll never forget hating Rocky Top as much as I ever did, because they literally played it through the entire athletic facility for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week until we kicked off. I mean, you literally heard Rocky Top for 7 straight days. If you were in the facility, it was playing everywhere, and it was the most annoying song in the world. But you'll never forget it because there are so many people. And, when I was growing up, Tennessee dominated this rivalry, and then all of a sudden it turns where we are right now. But this game meant a lot to a lot of people, like Coach Saban always says, especially people that were before my time when all they knew was winning. All I knew was losing to Tennessee when I was growing up. So this one's a special one. It's always circled. Everybody talks about the Iron Bowl, but this one is just right there underneath it.
Was it the marching band version or the bluegrass country version?
Oh, it was straight marching band. It was straight. You got everything. I think they would switch it up every once in a while, give you a few different variations, but most of the time it didn't matter. You got the full band, and you could just hear every screaming Rocky Top. It almost got to a point where it's almost like you were in an insane asylum because you started singing the song. You were like, hey, if you got to enjoy this, if we're going to be doing this, it was just you better play along and make the time pass because you just got so tired. And Scott Cochran loved every minute of it. He just would blare it where you couldn't even hear him coaching. And if you can't hear Scott Cochran saying something in the weight room, you know that it's blaring.
So, again, going back to Rocky Block, the end of the 2009 game, so you were on the field. Where were you?
Yeah, I was on the left side. We had full block on except for me, and I think Justin Woodall was on the other side covering tight ends because I think they attempted a fake or were thinking about attempting a fake. It looked like they were going to call it tag. And we already blocked one in that game. So there was a little, from the coaching standpoint, it's like we got to cover their tight ends in case anybody releases out for a pass. So get a push, but we're not trying to go after it and making sure that we cover. But on the left side, second from the left, man, I'll never forget it. I can remember staring at that football as it's leaving the kicker's foot and seeing Cody. And if Cody doesn't block it, Julio Jones, I've never seen somebody jump that high. That was a 47-inch vertical that day. He would have blocked it as well. It was awesome.
Really great moment from the third Saturday in October, and we have another one coming up this Saturday in Knoxville. Tonight we're at Baumhower's Victory Grill in Vestavia Hills, and you can celebrate 40 years of Baumhower's this fall with new flavors including Alabama hot chicken, fajita wraps, and legendary buffalo wings. Baumhower's Victory Grill, legendary fun, legendary food. We'll be back with more in just a moment. This is the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield. Alabama against Tennessee coming up on Saturday in Knoxville. And earlier today, it was the head coach of the Crimson Tide, Nick Saban, meeting with the media in Tuscaloosa as we begin Tennessee week, getting set for the third Saturday in October in 2022.
So I think it's fairly obvious that there's a lot of things that, we need
You're clear.
Evaluate personnel, evaluate consistency and performance, evaluate, priority of getting your job done the right way so that we can have a little more consistency, in our performance. We didn't take advantage of opportunities when we had them, in the last game, and that's certainly something that's going to catch up with you. Players have to understand you got to do things to keep from losing before you can think about winning, which is, turning the ball over, making mental errors, not reading things correctly so that we can execute plays the way they're designed. And that's something that we, as a whole, as an organization, need to do a better job of working together with the players and the coaches so that we can do a better job of getting that right. We're going to play a really good Tennessee team. This game means a lot to a lot of people in Alabama. It's kind of a rivalry game, and it's always been an important game for us. Tennessee's got an outstanding team. They're undefeated. Josh has done a really, really good job there. Probably one of the most explosive offenses, if not the most explosive offense, in the country. They've got really good wide receivers. 4 guys have lots of production. They've got 2 really good running backs, lots of production.
And that was the head coach of the Crimson Tide, Nick Saban, meeting with the media earlier today in Tuscaloosa. Special thank you to Onward Reserve, the official apparel provider of the Crimson Tide Sports Network, for all the great gear this year. Visit onwardreserve.com for all of your game day apparel. Live authentically with Onward Reserve. You're listening to Crimson Tide Rewind, presented by Bud Light. This is the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield.
Final play of the game, 3 seconds left. Aggies at the Alabama 2. 4-point Bama lead. We're trying to keep it that way. King gets a snap. Time. Throws. It is incomplete. Zeros on the clock. Ball game. No flags. Alabama wins. Let's get out of here. They don't ask you how. They simply ask you how many. And this is a big one for the Crimson Tide as Alabama holds on. The fighting Texas Aggies, 24-20 is your final.
And that was Chris Stewart filling in for Eli Gold on the call of the final play of the game as the Crimson Tide put it away against Texas A&M. And if you haven't seen the booth cam view presented by Royal Furniture of that final call, I believe 60,000 views on Twitter right now, millions more on Facebook and YouTube. It is incredible what was going on in the booth all around Chris as he's making that call. I nearly passed out. Brian Pasek was in there. Butch Owens was there as well, along with Tom Steiben. We had just a crazy time watching the end of that ball game, Chris, with a great final call.
And I'll tell you, I was the complete opposite. We were in the stands watching, and I think all of us didn't know what to do. We celebrated, but it was like, did we just pull this off?
Really,
I mean,
no
we
flags,
were shocked.
right?
It was just complete shock that we were in that position. But it was a monumental moment. Great to get a win and get off the field, because after they drove the ball. That last drive, they moved it pretty effectively. We had an opportunity to go out there and get an interception. Somehow goes through two defenders' hands, and their receiver comes down with it. I couldn't believe that we missed that one. And then we get the pass interference call on the play before, and when we picked it off, I thought the ball game was over then. And then they got to come back out and play one more play. I mean, it was just like I was exhausted. I was exhausted at that point. I didn't have any emotions left to give. But it was a great win. Great team win. Defense stood up and really played extremely well. I know we had 4 turnovers, and I think Texas A&M scored, 17 points off of turnovers. But you look at the stats on what Texas A&M's offense even did. I think they averaged like 5.5 yards per pass and 2.8 yards per rush. We really held them from their offense from being too effective. We just gave them the ball in very opportunistic areas of the field, and they go out there and were productive in those spots. But missing 2 field goals from Will Riker, you don't see that very often, which I don't know what exactly was going on there. But he is human. He's a kicker. He's a college kicker. He's going to miss some every once in a while. You just don't want to miss it when it's this close of a ball game, when we've got a chance to take the lead.
Let's take a look at tonight's Prescription for Success, presented by Payless Drugs, your locally owned family pharmacy with 4 locations in Birmingham. Payless can handle your prescriptions, over-the-counter solutions, and home delivery. Payless at mynewpharmacy.com. Alabama getting ready to take on the nation's #1 offense in terms of yardage per game, 547 yards per game for Josh Heupel's Tennessee offense.
Yeah, and 48.5 points per game.
Yeah.
Leads the nation, I think, or is in the top of the country there, too, as well. I mean, that's obviously, if we, after this past Saturday, looking to what we're about to be facing from Tennessee going into this game, that's going to be the key. We got to get these guys off the field. And if you watch the LSU game this past weekend, Tennessee just took it over from the opening kick, fumbled an opening kickoff, and Tennessee gets the ball, goes around, scores, and they didn't slow down at all. And I don't think that LSU is exactly the world beater that we've grown accustomed to seeing LSU be, and I think there's a lot of that playing into this weekend's matchup, and you don't want to downplay that, though, because they are a very explosive offense. Heupel knows how to go out there and take shots. He's not afraid of it, and Hendon Hooker might be one of the best transfer stories. You've got Jalen Hurts going to Oklahoma. You got Kyler Murray. All these quarterbacks that have transferred and had success at other schools, and Hendon Hooker has found a way to go into this offense and be very productive. It's going to be a matter of getting after him. And not giving up these big explosive plays that they've done extremely well so far in this season. So it's going to be a rowdy environment. You got to be able to. We've seen what rowdy environments have done to this team so far this season at Texas. Hopefully we've had enough going to Arkansas. We've got a lot of experience. This team knows what it's going to take. This defense is going to have to continue to play at the high level that they've played all season. They've been the bright spot for this team so far. Even though the stat sheet from this past weekend didn't look great, you saw the pass rush really affecting Texas A&M's offense. Will Anderson, he only had, 2 tackles, but it felt like he was in the backfield all night long. So we got to have some more of that. That's got to continue, and I love this package that they've put together with him and Dallas Turner. and those other pass rushers that we have, put them all on the field all at once. Chris Braswell, those three guys, we didn't even have something like that when I was there. This is a new package you hadn't seen, and it's been pretty effective. I imagine we're going to see a lot of that this Saturday.
Hopefully we will see more of the cheetah package coming up.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, I think
package.
that's what they call it. And Henry Toto, we interviewed him for Crimson Drive coming up later this week. He said, hey, I'm part of the cheetah package.
Yeah.
So he's really proud of that.
We only went to dime rabbits. That was as high as it got for us when you put all the pass rushers on. Now they got this. You got three guys that are just so effective. You got to find a way to get them all on the field. They're real good players.
We're going to need it coming up on Saturday. We'll talk more about that when we return for our final segment of the night. This is Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield. What's on tap next for Bama is brought to you by Bud Light. Bud Light proudly welcomes back Tide fans to Bryant-Denny Stadium. This year, Bud Light is for the fans, and coming up on Saturday, we're going to be at Neyland Stadium in Knoxville for Alabama against Tennessee. First time that both teams have entered this matchup undefeated since 1989. You have a top 10 matchup. We're really excited. Our coverage is going to start at 11:30 a.m. Central for the 2:30 kickoff, and this rivalry may be back.
Yeah, you think Tennessee fans are going to be excited about this one? They've been waiting a long time for this matchup to get competitive again. It's been one-sided for a long time. Game day is going to be there. It's going to be a great environment, and we're all looking forward to it.
Certainly are, as Alabama, again, is going up against a high-tempo offense. We know Tennessee can get down the field like we just talked about, score a lot of points, but what about the pace they play with? How does Alabama go against that?
Yeah, they've got a two-headed monster here. They play at a breakneck pace, and they've got a mobile quarterback. It's just two things that are always give a lot of defenses fits. It's hard to get lined up and get everybody in place. You can't substitute guys. You've got to have guys that are, we saw towards the end of that ball game that even in this one with I think Texas A&M ran 72 plays is what they had. And you could tell the defense was tired at the end of this ball game. Expected Tennessee to try to take advantage of this and move really quickly, try to catch us off guard, miscommunications, have some sort of packages where they just know what the next plays are without even having to look to the sideline. And we've got to get lined up and get ready to play. And that was one thing that having a guy like Rolando McClain was so beneficial for us, is he didn't even have to look at the sideline. He knew kind of what we wanted to be in. Maybe it wasn't the perfect play call, but he could get everybody lined up quickly. And Henry Toto is a guy, even though it's only his second year in the program, the coaches speak so highly of him, of how well he understands the philosophy of this defense and what we're trying to accomplish and getting everybody lined up and playing. Jalen Moody was out last week, and hopefully he's healthy again, can play this weekend. But having those two guys as the centers of the defense and play callers of getting them lined up and playing, that's going to be huge. And hopefully we can get some special teams involved. We didn't see a lot of Kool-Aid McKinstry this past weekend, and they were trying to keep him out of the ball game, seeing how effective he's been throughout this season.
Should be fun. Roll Tide, Corey.
Roll Tide. Looking forward to it, Roger.
That's Corey Reamer. I'm Roger Hoover, and that does it for Crimson Tide Rewind, presented by Bud Light, live from Baumhauer's Victory Grill in Vestavia Hills. If you missed this show, you can catch it on demand on our Alabama Insider podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. Special thanks to Todd Robbins, as well as Ethan Carabin, plus Jacob Smith, Jerry Kelly, back at our studios. From Vestavia Hills, Alabama, good night, and roll Tide.